discovered that there's a lack of shared understanding of both the problems and opportunities for affordable housing. And this in and of itself is really a barrier to increasing affordable housing in Jefferson County.
Colorado and Jefferson County are at a crossroads. I also want to underscore that it's an issue of racial, ethnic, and social equity as well, and that needs to be a cornerstone of our conversation.
There's still a need for additional below market rate investment to serve those families who make enough money. So we will continue to focus on that missing middle housing stock.
Once we have a safe roof over our head, then we can start thinking about childcare and transportation and those other huge barriers to self-sufficiency.
A major theme that has come up consistently in this work and in the research in these conversations is how the housing challenges that communities across Colorado are facing. And we know that care is critically important for a community's well-being.
Well, what happens when we have high amount of turnover, especially with our program staff, is that those relationships that have been built between teen mom and staff members that are very critical are broken. What we have seen just in the last 18 months, we've had 4 of our program staff members leave our employ to move to another state, and 2 have left our employ because they lived so far east in order to afford a place to live.
It's important for the community to have a place like that where people can live where they work. We know that it makes for a much healthier community if your grocery baggers, your teachers, your CNAs can all live in the same community they work.
And so you have, 122 new jobs for every 100 affordable housing units. You have better outcomes in education because kids who are not hypermobile, who are staying in one place at one time, studies show over and over again that those kids have better educational outcomes, which of course leads to better economic outcomes later in life. And that it attracts and retains public school teachers who can work in their community. You're cutting healthcare costs if you're feeling extremely housing cost burden. That's one of the first costs that go is that $30 copay to go see the doctor or whatever it might be.
And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what's happening at the state capitol. The state legislature has spent an enormous amount of time talking about housing in the state.
They're going to be walking us through some of the basics of how housing is developed and what are the biggest challenges.
And that is more or less a generic kind of flow chart, but very accurate on what it takes to get something from the beginning to the end and actually build something.
So as we think about the policy levers that local jurisdictions kind of have in their repertoire, there's sort of 3 different groups. So we think about this webinar series where we're focused primarily on the workforce or middle income range, which is about 60 to 120% AMI. You can see are the policies that are going to be used to address this component of the housing spectrum.
If you look at this map here, right, you see exactly how easy it is to sort of identify, exactly that question of investment opportunities, right?
If you're thinking about the harms that have been done in the past, the only way to undo them is to make specific policies that are meant to undo and redress the issues that have happened in the past.
As I think about opportunities, I think one of the first things we have to do is to publicly acknowledge the harms. And we shouldn't run from this reality. We need to instead lean into it. And it needs to be community-wide. And people who don't know about these things need to hear them.